Approach 1. The Stoics' lesson. He loved her, but he had to let go. Short story. Marcus had loved Lyra for 3 years. Every morning, he checked her messages. Every evening, he planned her schedule. He called it devotion. She called it a cage. One night, she left a note on the marble table. "You never asked me what I wanted. You only told me what was good for me." Marcus sat in silence for hours, reading Aurelius by candlelight. That was the night he understood. He had never loved her. He had owned her. The man who holds too tight never held anything at all. And the Stoics knew something most men today have forgotten. There is a razor-thin line between protecting someone and imprisoning them. Build. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But here is what most people miss. That also applies to the people you love. You have no power over them. You never did. The moment you began scheduling her life, monitoring her movements, and deciding what was best for her without asking, you crossed the line. You stopped being her partner. You became her warden. Turn. Real care is uncomfortable. Real care says, "I trust you even when it frightens me." Control says, "I trust no one, not even you." The Stoic man understands this. He builds his inner world so strongly that he does not need to manage your outer world to feel safe. His peace does not depend on your obedience. Ask yourself tonight, are you loving someone or are you managing them? Because the greatest act of love a Stoic ever performs is choosing to trust what he cannot control. Approach 2. The mirror story. She thought he was protective. She was wrong. Short story. Arya met Damon at a philosophy lecture. He quoted Epictetus on their first date. He seemed calm, wise, unshakable. But slowly, things shifted. He didn't like her going out without him. He reframed jealousy as concern. He called possessiveness protection. It took Arya 2 years to realize the wisest sounding man can be the most controlling. Wisdom quoted from books means nothing if it isn't lived in how you treat the person beside you. Warning: a controlling man rarely looks controlling at first. He looks like the most caring person you've ever met. Build. This is what makes the line between care and control so dangerous. They wear the same face in the beginning. He checks on you because he worries. He questions your friends because he cares about your circle. He needs to know where you are because he just wants to make sure you're safe. And for a while, it feels like love. It feels like someone finally sees you. Turn. But here is the Stoic truth that cuts through all of it. Genuine care empowers the other person. It says, "I believe in your judgment." Control, on the other hand, is rooted in fear. The fear that if you give someone freedom, they will use it to leave. And that fear? That is not love. That is insecurity dressed in a toga. Proof. Epictetus, who was literally once a slave, understood freedom better than most free men. He said, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." You cannot apply that philosophy to Stoicism and ignore it in your relationships. Real strength doesn't grip. Real strength opens its hand and trusts. Approach 3. The power dynamic. Why strong men become controlling. Short story. General Valerius commanded thousands. In battle, every detail mattered. A miscalculation cost lives. So he learned to control everything: supply lines, troop morale, weather preparations. He was brilliant. Then he came home to his wife, Calla, and he treated her like a battlefield. He optimized her diet, scheduled her social visits, vetted her friendships. He wasn't cruel. He was unconscious. The same strength that made him legendary in war made him insufferable in love. Here is a truth that nobody talks about. The men most likely to become controlling are often the most capable, most disciplined, most driven men alive. And that is exactly the problem. Build. High-performing men are trained to optimize. They fix problems. They close gaps. They see inefficiency and they eliminate it. These are extraordinary qualities, in business, in war, in leadership. But when you bring that same operating system into a relationship, you stop seeing a partner. You start seeing a variable. Something to manage. Something to improve. And slowly, without ever meaning to, you begin treating the woman you love like a project. Turn. The Stoics had a clear boundary here. Marcus Aurelius led an empire, and yet he wrote about the importance of treating others as rational beings with their own agency. He understood that his authority ended at the borders of another person's sovereign self. The most powerful man in the known world knew, you lead armies, not people you love. Lesson. So if you are a strong man, listen carefully. Your discipline is a gift. Your protection is a gift. But your need to control outcomes? That is a wound. That is the part of you that doesn't trust the universe, doesn't trust her, and if you are honest, doesn't fully trust yourself. Stoicism asks you to master yourself first. Master yourself so completely that you no longer need to master anyone else. The strongest thing a powerful man can ever do is stand beside someone free, and not flinch. Approach 4. The Ancient Love Story. What Rome knew about letting go. Short story. In ancient Rome, there was a senator named Gaius who fell deeply in love with a woman named Serena. She was sharp, creative, unpredictable. He adored those things about her, until they terrified him. He began crafting rules for their life together. First small ones, then larger ones. Serena complied, silently. One morning Gaius woke to find her gone. On the mosaic floor, written in charcoal, were 4 words. I was not yours. Gaius spent the rest of his life studying philosophy, trying to understand what he had never learned, that love is not ownership. 2,000 years ago, the Romans were wrestling with the same question we are today. When does love become possession? Build. Ancient Stoic philosophy was radical for its time. In a world where women were considered property, Stoic thinkers began arguing for something revolutionary, the rational equality of all human souls. Musonius Rufus, one of the great Stoic teachers, argued that women deserved the same philosophical education as men. Why? Because he believed every human soul was capable of reason, virtue, and self-direction. That belief, if lived out, makes control impossible. You cannot truly believe someone is your equal and simultaneously try to manage their every decision. Conflict. But here is the tension. Culture, ego, fear, they push back against that belief every single day. We say we believe in equality. We say we respect autonomy. And then, when we feel insecure, when we feel afraid of losing someone, we reach for control like it's the only tool we have. We mistake the cage for the castle. Resolution. True Stoic love looks different. It looks like 2 people standing side by side, each completely whole, choosing every day to remain. Not because one of them built walls high enough to keep the other in, but because the life they built together is worth staying for. That is the ancient vision. That is what was always meant by partnership. Rome fell. But the philosophy it carried, the idea that love must be chosen freely or it means nothing, that remains. Approach 5. The Psychological Deep Dive. The Science Behind Control in Relationships. Short story. Dr. Helena spent 15 years studying relationship psychology. Her most consistent finding: the partners who exhibited the most controlling behaviors were almost always the ones with the greatest unhealed abandonment wounds. They weren't monsters. They were terrified children in adult bodies, using control as a substitute for the security they never felt as kids. Understanding this didn't excuse the behavior, but it explained it, and it pointed to the only real cure: inner work, not outer management. Control in relationships is never really about the other person. Let me say that again, it is never about them. It is always about what is happening inside you. Psychology build. Psychologists call it anxious attachment. When a person grows up in an environment where love felt unpredictable, where care could be withdrawn at any moment, the nervous system learns a dangerous lesson: safety must be manufactured. You cannot simply trust that someone will stay. You must ensure it. And so the controlling behaviors begin. Monitoring, questioning, restricting. setting rules. All of it is the nervous system running an old survival program in the wrong environment. Stoic bridge. This is where Stoicism becomes almost therapeutic. Because the entire Stoic practice is designed to do exactly what anxious attachment cannot. It trains you to separate what is in your control from what is not, and to make peace with that boundary. Epictetus opens the Enchiridion with this: some things are in our control and others not. That single sentence, truly internalized, dismantles the architecture of control-based relationships entirely. Solution. The healed man, the Stoic man, does his inner work first. He identifies the fear. He names it. He sits with it instead of outsourcing it onto his partner. He builds his own security from within so he doesn't need to steal it from someone else. That is not weakness. That is the hardest work a human being can do. You cannot love freely from a place of fear. And you cannot stop being controlling until you stop being afraid. The work starts inside. It always starts inside. Approach 6. The villain reframe. What if you are the controlling one? Short story. Theo was certain his ex was the problem. Too flighty. Too social. Too unwilling to commit to the structure he needed. After 3 relationships ended the same way, he finally sat with a mentor who asked him one question. In each of these stories, what is the one common element? Theo went quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, he pointed to himself. That was the day his real growth began. Not when he found the right woman, but when he became honest about being the wrong man. This one is going to be uncomfortable. Because I'm not going to talk about the controlling people in your life. I'm going to ask you to consider, what if you are one of them? Challenge. Most people who exhibit controlling behaviors in relationships do not see themselves as controlling. They see themselves as caring, as thorough, as responsible, as someone who just has high standards. They see their partner as chaotic, unreliable, irresponsible. The story they tell themselves is always flattering. The villain is always somewhere else. Mirror. So here are some questions. Answer them honestly. Do you get anxious when your partner doesn't respond quickly? Do you feel entitled to know their whereabouts at all times? Do you subtly punish them with silence or withdrawal when they act independently? Do you frame your preferences as requirements? If any of those landed, this message is for you. Stoic accountability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your controlling patterns are not a life sentence. They are information. They are pointing directly at the inner work you haven't done yet. The Stoic doesn't look away from that. The Stoic looks straight at it. The most courageous thing you may ever do is not defend yourself, but examine yourself. Sit down with this. Be honest. And then begin. Approach 7. The real protection story. What it actually means to keep someone safe. Short story. Old Brennan was 91 when his granddaughter asked him the secret to his 60-year marriage. He laughed and said, "I made a decision early on. My job was not to protect her from the world. My job was to make sure she was strong enough that the world didn't frighten her." His wife, sitting beside him, reached over and squeezed his hand. She had been a doctor, a community leader, and a mother of 4. She had never once been kept small by the man who loved her. Real protection and control look like opposites, because they are. Define real protection. A man who truly protects the woman he loves does not limit her world. He expands it. He does not make her dependent on him. He helps her become so capable, so confident, so rooted in herself that she could navigate the world without him if she ever had to. That is love. That is strength. That is what it actually means to care for another person. Contrast. Control does the opposite. Control shrinks her world until he is the only thing in it. And he does this, consciously or not, because a woman with a full, rich, independent life has the power to leave. And that terrifies the controlling man more than anything. So he clips her wings and calls it shelter. Stoic ideal. The Stoics called this virtuous love, love that makes the other person better. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, Associate with those who are likely to make you better. That applies in both directions. Are you the person who makes her better, bolder, freer? Or are you the person who makes her smaller, quieter, more dependent? The answer tells you everything. The man worth loving is not the man who locks the door to keep the danger out. He is the man who builds her up so high that nothing outside can touch her. Approach 8, the Stoic test. 3 questions to know if it's care or control. Short story. Young Ptolemy came to his Stoic teacher with a question. How do I know if I am loving rightly or just afraid? The teacher set down his scroll and looked at the young man for a long moment. Then he said, I will give you 3 questions. Answer them honestly, and you will know. Ptolemy took out his writing tablet. What followed changed not just his relationship, but every relationship he would ever have. How do you know if what you're doing is love or control in disguise? 3 Stoic questions. Answer them honestly. Question 1. Does your behavior make them more themselves or less? Care expands identity. The person you love should feel more confident, more free, more fully who they are because of how you treat them. If the people around them notice they've become quieter, more withdrawn, more anxious since they've been with you, you are not caring for them. You are diminishing them. Question 2. Could they openly disagree with you without consequence? In a caring relationship, conflict is safe. Your partner can say I don't like this or I disagree without bracing for punishment. If they have learned to manage your emotions by suppressing their own truth, that is control. No matter how calmly it was established. Question 3. Do your behaviors require their compliance to give you peace? Care is unconditional. Control is transactional. If your emotional stability depends on them doing exactly what you've decided, you are not in love with a person. You are in love with an outcome. Stoic anchor. Epictetus built his entire philosophy on one distinction: what is mine and what is not. Your peace, your virtue, your response, yours. Their choices, their movements, their self-expression, not yours. The moment you build your peace on controlling what is not yours, you have left stoicism behind. And you have left love behind with it. 3 questions. Run them tonight. Be ruthless. Be honest. That is where growth begins. Approach 9, the redemption arc. The man who learned the difference. Short story. At 35, Darian lost everything. His marriage, his home, his sense of self. For 2 years he lived alone, reading philosophy, seeing a therapist, and doing the slow, unglamorous work of becoming honest with himself. At 37, he met someone new. He did not monitor her phone. He did not question her friendships. When she went on a trip without him, he felt the old fear rise, and he let it pass through without acting on it. On the day she told him he was the safest person she'd ever loved, he wept. Not because she complimented him, but because he knew how close he had come to never being that person. This is not a story about a villain. This is a story about a man who chose to become better, when it would have been so much easier not to. Rise. He was not a bad man. He was a scared man who had never been taught to name fear. So instead of sitting with it, he controlled everything around him. His relationship became an empire he managed rather than a home he shared. And slowly, inevitably, the person he loved most walked away from the empire, looking for a home. The reckoning. The Stoics teach that adversity is the school of virtue. That loss, properly met, becomes the greatest teacher. And for this man, the loss of his marriage was the first honest thing that had ever happened to him. It stripped every justification away. In the silence that followed, he finally heard himself clearly. And he did not like what he heard. The work. He did not get better overnight. He read. He reflected. He sat with discomfort instead of outsourcing it. He learned to distinguish between the voice of love and the voice of fear, because for most of his life, he had confused them completely. That confusion had cost him everything. He was not willing to pay that price again. Redemption is not a moment. It is a daily practice. It is choosing, again and again, to lead with care instead of control. To love with open hands. To trust the terrifying, beautiful truth that the only love worth having is love that is freely given. Every single day. Approach 10. The Philosophical Manifesto. A Stoic's Code for Loving Right. Short story. Before the great philosopher Cato went into his final battle, one he knew he would not survive, he sat with his son and spoke for hours. Not about strategy. Not about legacy. About love. About how he had learned too late that the men who fought hardest for freedom on the battlefield were often the ones who refused it to the people they loved most at home. He asked his son to be different. To be the kind of man whose love felt like liberation. His son listened. And he never forgot. I want to give you something today. Not a warning. Not a critique. A code. A Stoic's code for what it means to love another person with integrity. Principle 1. Her freedom is not a threat to your love, it is proof of it. A love that requires restriction to survive was never strong enough to begin with. Build something so real, so deep, so worth choosing, that freedom only ever brings her back. Principle 2. Your security is your responsibility, not hers. She is not your emotional anchor. She is your partner. Do the inner work required to stand steady on your own. Then stand beside her. Not above her. Not around her. Beside. Principle 3. Disagreement is not disloyalty. The woman who can challenge you, correct you, and hold her own perspective in your presence, that is not a difficult woman. That is a strong woman. And you should thank whatever gods you believe in that she chose you. Principle 4. Love is a verb, and its highest conjugation is trust. Not possession. Not management. Not supervision. Trust. Extended daily. Renewed in every moment of doubt. Chosen even when the fear is loudest. Principle 5. Ask yourself each night, did I make her more or less today? That question alone, answered honestly over a lifetime, will make you the kind of man that Stoic philosophy always pointed toward. Not perfect, but honest. Not fearless, but disciplined enough to act from love instead of fear, care or control. Every day, in every small moment, you choose. Choose wisely. Choose love. Choose to be the kind of man whose presence is someone else's freedom.